Here we go. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everybody, to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl. I'm broadcasting to you from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I'm here with my good friend, Catherine Clement, and she's out in Boulder, Colorado. Today we're going to talk about the Tao Te Ching Verse 36 as interpreted by Wayne Dyer in his book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. But before we get going, I'm going to give Catherine an opportunity to jump out and say hey, and then we just jump into this real quick. We'll just get it going today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Samantha, and welcome everyone. This is Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and looking forward to this discussion. Thanks for joining us. I know it's Labor Day weekend, and so many of the panelists are off doing things, so it looks like Samantha and I just get to have a little coffee chat this morning.
Right on. Oh, there's Karen. Hey, Karen.
Whoop, whoop. Hi, Karen.
Oh, I think she's just getting going. Maybe it's just starting up for her. We'll jump out whenever, Karen. It's just the three of us so far this morning. Oh, there's Chris. Hey, awesome. Everybody's jumping in late this morning. Either that or maybe my clock's ahead. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody until y'all get on. Sort it out. Where's that coming from? Oh, that's Karen. Okay. All right, guys, everybody's muted for right now. When you get sorted out, then jump on out, and then you can introduce yourselves, say hey or whatever. Whenever you're ready, really. I was getting ready to read the verse. You guys want to jump out real quick? Whoever.
Hi. Sandy, we're here in Miami Beach, Florida. Interesting chapter, so looking forward to everyone's views.
Awesome. Welcome, Sandy. You ready to jump out, Chris?
Yeah, sure. Hi, this is Chris. Happy Saturday, everybody. I'm ready. Okay, thanks.
Awesome. How about you, Karen? Maybe not. Well, whenever you get it sorted out. Oh, there you are.
Hi.
Hey.
All these elements. My speaker was muted.
Oh, that's no good.
No. I mean, my volume is muted.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So you're all waving and carrying.
Okay, talk up.
Good morning. This is cool. Oh, I just look forward to this so much.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
We're glad to have you on.
Thank you.
And okay, so let's get this discussion going, guys. Who wants to read the verse? And you want to read it this time, Chris? Sandy, you read last week, didn't you? Yeah, okay. Chris did a good job the week before, too. You got it in front of you, Chris?
Yes, I do. Yes,
Okay.
I do. Okay. Tao Te Ching, verse 36. Should you want to contain something, you must deliberately let it expand. Should you want to weaken something, you must deliberately let it grow strong. Should you want to eliminate something, you must allow it to flourish. Should you want to take something away, you must deliberately grant it access. The lesson here is called the wisdom of obscurity. The gentle outlast the strong. The obscure outlast the obvious. Fish cannot leave deep waters, and a country's weapons should not be displayed.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Hey, Jason. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Good to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so who else was confused about what this verse meant? was, yeah, I was having a little struggle with this one. I was actually scheduled to write the blog post this week, guys, and I kind of dropped the ball because I got it started and had it in draft mode, and then my husband's truck broke down and all craziness broke loose after that, so I just ran out of time. But anyway, I will get that up there. And but anyway, when I went to go write it, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's the real, what's the message here? What's the specific message? And what does some of the stuff mean? Like fish cannot leave deep waters. What's that supposed to mean? But so what do you guys think? Who wants to share their thoughts on what you think it means? Or any part of it. We can tear the thing apart and go line by line.
I don't know. My best, like, in a way, part of it is saying, less is more kind of a thing. But I really don't get it. What about you guys? Nope. Awkward silence.
Well, like the title says, obscurity, so that's what it feels like. I'm like, what? Yeah, it was difficult to understand. I mean, the one part that I liked was about this knowing oneness by seeking awareness of the opposites. Like if you're feeling, where is it? Like if you're tired, remind yourself that you know what being rested is like. Recognize the opposing feelings so that you can know both of them simultaneously. So if you're feeling depressed, weak, jealous, unloved, anything, the antithesis of what you're going through is within your experiential framework. So I guess he's talking about oneness and that we have all of these, the strength, the weakness, the feeling loved, the feeling unloved, the jealousy, the contentment, the weakness, the strength, the depressed, the happy, all of that, so we can experience one and experience the other at the same time and be one. That's where I'll start.
Anybody else have thoughts? Okay. Okay, I'll share what I thought when I first read it. I mean, other than going, what? I thought on it a little bit. And, when it's talking about, should you want to weaken something or eliminate something or whatever, you should let it be, right? Or let it grow. What was it? The first thing I thought of was, oh, okay. Sorry. Had to get my train of thought going there. I'm like, if you want to do something, I thought of weeds in the garden, right? I'm sitting here going, now, if I just let all the weeds grow, then they're going to be all out of control and overrun the garden, right? And that just made me feel like, wait a second, that's why it was really confusing for me, because I'm sitting here trying to think of examples of when you let something be, what tends to happen. And, if we're talking about terrorism and stuff, we just let them do what they wanted to do. They would just overrun the world, right? Or, sometimes it's the politicians or whoever is out there. If we just ignore them, then maybe they're going to make a mess of things. But then I also thought of, like in situations where, like sibling rivalry, how sometimes the brother and the sister, one will be pestering the other one, and they just keep pestering because they're like looking for that reaction, or they just want to annoy the other one until either A, they get mom's attention because they're trying to get that attention, or B, they get the sibling to make some outburst or reaction. And, one thing I always told my kids is, like, especially my daughter, because she was the oldest and Coda was the one pestering her, was, just ignore him, because ultimately he wants you to give a reaction, or he wants me to react in some way. And if neither one of us are going to do that, he's going to get bored with it. And so that was kind of my thought on this, is that if you just let the thing alone is that, eventually it's going to get bored with you. So, but I don't know how that would necessarily apply in bigger things in life. I mean, I guess I could see where, like, if you're driving in traffic, and you're annoyed by the people that are coming around you and doing this and that and the other, you can pretty much just drive defensively in the way that you see them coming, you expect it to happen, and so you avoid it yourself and you quit getting yourself all upset about it. I mean, I don't know, I guess that's one way to look at it. Thoughts on any of that?
I think that, this verse just really speaks to the mystery of you can't put your finger on it. It talks about how fleeting a meal is, and yet it causes people to stop, and how you can feel God, but you can't really explain God. Like how do you explain that feeling when those moments when you're like completely connected? There's no way to describe it. It's kind of like an out-of-body experience. You can try to explain it to people, but there's no way to recreate that experience in words, in my opinion anyway. Kind of like pictures of these beautiful mountains out here. Cameras just don't capture it, and you just can't put your finger on the one thing that really holds us all together, which is amazing and puzzling all at the same time.
Yeah, that is. I see what you're saying there. That's really one way to look at it. I'm thinking, some of this is about our internal struggle, and maybe some of it is about, external physical reality. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Dr. Dyer says about it, but I do notice that sometimes in certain situations, it is better to kind of just kind of let things go, take their natural path. And sometimes that does reveal how you can handle it. I mean, I've noticed some things where, like, maybe you've got a big obstacle that is coming your way. If we try to just force it and maybe put our initial opinions upon it, then we might meet with some sort of resistance. But if we watch it evolve as it comes towards us, maybe we can do some sort of, I don't know, philosophical or mental judo on it, and use its own momentum or mass against it. I mean, there are situations where I can see some of these things could be a reality, but maybe not in everything at the same time. So that's why it's a little confusing. What say ye, Chris?
Yeah, it's an obscure verse. On the lighter side of things, I was thinking containing something. I was thinking let it expand. I think that maybe referred to my belt size. I don't know. I don't see how making something strong weakens something. For me, that's that's a little confusing to me. I can see how letting something go its own way and then being able to deal with it on its natural course, but it's a little above my head, I guess.
Well, here, and I thought you were trying to get. Yeah, come on out.
Where is this dumb mic? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. This is really something else. Wouldn't it be cool if we could have Lao Tzu, just kind of drop in on the Zoom page and start talking with us and say, you folks out there, this is what this means. But when you read that about fish cannot leave deep waters, I thought, well, that's easy. I mean, if you take them out of the aquarium, even if you take them out of the fishbowl, they're, depending on what end, I guess you could maybe take out their tail and it wouldn't matter too much, but they're not going to live. But that's about the easiest one so far. However, looking at the chat page, this kind of focused me, and I like this. Good morning. What's the keyword of the day? It's kind of like, oh, that might help. And then obscurity. Is that something we're all actually looking for? I don't know that we are, but I'll tell you what came to my mind. Somehow, when you listen to things, you can listen to seminars for years, and you can listen to, I happen to have the good fortune, since I'm so aged, to have listened to Wayne Dyer from my mid-20s, and you can miss so much. And then, one day it's like the flashlight was just right smack on those words right there. And this happened with this information about our cells. If I were to ask you how many cells are contained in our body, the total number of cells, would you think it was millions? Would you think it was billions? Does everybody know it's trillions? I mean, none of you are giving me any feedback. Well, I had never, that really struck me. Trillions. I'm thinking trillions. Trillions. I have trillions of cells in my bodies, and I was thinking I wasn't all that abundant. I mentioned the other day about leaves and rocks and all that kind of stuff, but inside me I have trillions of cells. And part of the reason that it struck me, thank you, Catherine, again for that information about parvo. I'm reading ozone and I'm going, smacking my head with my hand, saying, yeah, well, I'm taking cellular oxygen enhancement, and I didn't realize I probably ought to just stick that in the water for the puppy. But when I realized that I had trillions of cells, now when I take that, I take the time to stop and talk to my water and let it know how thankful I am for it. I actually do the Ho'oponopono thing. I'm not very good at pronouncing that. With it, and then I say, I am so glad to have something to contribute to the nourishment of my trillions upon trillions of cells. I mean, here I'm doing something. They were obscure. I'll tell you what, they were obscure until I picked up on that there are so many. I'm just bamboozled by the whole idea. So your question, Jason, is that something people are actually searching for? I don't know that we're searching for obscurity, but I'll tell you what, if I find some obscurity, I start poking around. I really do. I start checking this out. Are you serious? Trillions of cells in my body? So that's my contribution.
Thanks, Karen.
Yeah, that's great. That is great. I love that.
Donna, is that you that just jumped on by phone?
Is that Donna?
It is.
There she is.
Yeah. Hey,
Thanks, Karen, for that. That was awesome.
can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, Donna.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I so apologize. I don't know what the deal is with my PC, but when I first started using the Zoom, I didn't have any problems with it. When anyway, make a long story short, it's just I don't know if it's compatible because of the changes or switch over or what. Then we had some storms here, but it seems like I'm online with no problem. But nonetheless, I'm here by phone. Yeah, you all just doing the introductions there? I'm sorry. You're just doing the introduction.
We're just sharing our thoughts on what we think this verse means. We've all been kind of going, oh, and then sharing a little bit of what we think here and there. So did you read the verse, and do you have any thoughts on what you think it means?
Yeah, it's, wow. Has everyone spoke? If everyone hasn't spoke, just come back to me, okay? Just go ahead and come back to me. I can wait.
Whenever you're ready. Everybody's had something to say so far, so if you've got something, share it.
Yeah, I just wish I could have heard what everyone said. But anyway, nonetheless, we're in. Now it's this verse here. It seems like last week's verse when I read last week is coming on that for me, kind of just flowing from that. About nature, you know?
Yeah.
Just about, it's just, I mean, because it's just like, we were nicknamed, I guess I'm gonna say this okay, but my cousins would nickname me a lot when I was a child as a squirrel. They would call me Squirrel, and they'd call my older sister Rabbit. Because we just love to sit outside and let them just come and run around us, you know, play around us. But anyway, nonetheless, this chapter just took me back to that time, and that's just in thought process. Maybe I'll come back later on out of, because I'm just getting on here. I don't want to ramble and not say anything don't sound right, but that's kind of took me back to that time, Samantha. And good to hear everyone. Good morning. I'm still here.
Awesome. We're glad you're here. I'm sorry your computer's being difficult. I know how frustrating that can be. So when I first used the Zoom, I was having a similar issue. It just wasn't cooperating, and then I went and completely uninstalled it and then reinstalled it again after restarting my computer a few times. But I don't know. You never know. It could be internet connection too. What about Jason? Did you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, well, I was noticing in the 36th verse here about living in obscurity here on the Saturday morning mastermind with you guys. I was just noticing in the verse, how in this verse at least, I don't know if it's been rewritten over the years, but they use the word deliberately a number of times. So perhaps it's not really about the expanding, letting something expand so much, or letting something grow so much, or flourish, or granting it access as much as it is doing things with a purpose and in a deliberate nature and with deliberate measure. So in such a way that maybe that it reveals itself, or whatever it is you're looking for reveals itself, or the the result you're looking for comes to be because of our deliberateness, if that is a word. What do you think?
I'm sure it has been rewritten many, 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 many times. Now that I'm on the right verse, because I pulled up Saturday Morning Mastermind and it wasn't the right verse at first, because that's okay. So I got my Kindle open and looked at the right verse, and I think it's simply referring to, which has already been mentioned, is that you just can't. Something has to expand to meet what is containing it before it understands that it has boundaries. You can't experience being strong unless you've already had the experience of being weak, because what would you have to compare it with? So I think a lot of this is just pointing to understand something, you have to experience pretty much the polar opposite of it, or in some degree of it, to even get it. Because how would you be happy if you've never been sad? If you were just always happy, you wouldn't know that that was a thing to be. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense. The way you worded it was sort of what I was trying to say, but I couldn't say it as well as you did. So that was good. What was I going to say? My brain went. I'll come back.
Be obscured.
You know, who was it that mentioned earlier about, I don't know, it doesn't matter. The point is that when I was trying to figure this verse out and trying to understand it, you know, I kind of had a reminder come to me that this isn't the only translation, what we have in this book. And whenever I kind of come across a verse that we're reading in the book, and I'm like, I don't know that I really understand that, is I'll look for other translations, and then when you look at them, then it changes or it doesn't entirely change it. It just maybe helps open it up a little bit so that you're like, oh, okay, well, okay, so like this part that we're talking about here at the beginning, there's another translation that says that which shrinks must first expand, that which fails must first be strong, that which is cast down must first be raised, before receiving there must be giving. And then it says this is called the perception of the nature of things, instead of saying the obscurity. So I mean, you can see that there's a slightly different translation there, in that in order for one to be strong, you must have first experienced weak. Or in order to, you know, for something to retract, it has to have expanded first, right? So, you know, when we're looking at this and it's saying, should you want to contain something, you must deliberately let it expand. It's, you know, it can also be seen as it has to be expanded before it can be squished back down and be contained again, right? So I think on this part, it's directly correlating to the opposite, the polar opposites of things. You can't have one without having the other, because you wouldn't know it was one or the other in the first place if you didn't experience the opposite. So there's another part in the verse, you know, the part about the fish in the water and the state's weapons shouldn't be displayed. Yeah, like, okay, what? So let me read a translation that kind of sheds some light on that part. Let's see. It says, instead of fish cannot leave deep waters and countries' weapons can't be or shouldn't be displayed, it says, let your workings remain a mystery, just allow people to see the results. And so if we're talking about fish cannot leave deep waters, it's saying let your workings be a mystery. So it's like in the book, Wayne talks a little bit about you know, be more allowing toward other people, and like quit trying to be like me and help lift other people up, right? So if we're talking about let your workings remain a mystery, it's kind of like saying, okay, you're going about, you're doing all these good things, but you're not sitting there going, look what I did, look what I did. You're just allowing those good workings to benefit the world. And, you know, people see those good things, but they aren't necessarily seeing it as you created this good thing. So kind of like there was a post on Facebook not too long ago. I may have mentioned this on a previous mastermind, where there was a woman that was saving children from the Holocaust, but she wasn't going around saying, look at me, look at me. She was just doing it, right? And that affected lots of people. And I think there's a lot of situations where, you know, we can see opportunities to do something good, and it's not necessary for us to be recognized for it. What do you guys think about that? Yeah, jump out.
Did I step over somebody?
No, jump out there. We hear you.
Okay, yeah, there in the verse, and when I read it, thinking there what you were saying there, Samantha, strive to is like all week. Strive to be one. It's by seeking awareness of opposites, and just as you said there, and then and taking back and going back in the memory time there, just sit around with a rabbit or a squirrel and let them come around us. That was just what we done. You do all kind of, I call it strange things as a child, but it's all good strange. And yeah, you just you align yourself with the opposite of what you are, and then you just relax. You just flow, because if you go out here, now this is what I got from the book, and then this is just my perspective on it there, because like being that fish out of water. I said this to someone a while back, and I used to have this saying this a lot. I'm like a fish out of water. Have you guys ever said that at one point? I'm just like a fish out of water. I think that's what you said, Samantha, if I heard you right.
Yep,
You ever heard that saying before? Several times, right?
Yep.
I'm like a fish out of water. And one friend says, I hope you don't get out of that water. I hope you stay. I don't know. Then it was kind of confusing to me. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of, you just can't, it's hard to explain how you feel sometimes. You just have to just align yourself with this, whatever, flow with it, and be so comfortable in just building up, and just doing that wow. And that's what you want. That's what. So I'm going to let someone else hop out now. Go ahead there. I'm done.
Thanks, Donna. I was thinking, I was just reading part of this chapter where Wayne talks about the obscurity or the wisdom of obscurity, and he's talking about changing the way you think about your place in the great scheme of things, and that you'll discover that the wisdom of obscurity actually allows you to eliminate competition from your life and retreat into quiet strength. In other words, Lao Tzu is asking you to take it easy and base your view entirely on new criteria. And as you do, your world will begin to reflect a gentle, low-key soul who outlasts those who measure their strengths by how much status they have compared to their peers. It opens up the idea of understanding the dichotomous nature of the material world, and then encourages you to be an astute observer of your life. And I thought, that's kind of an interesting thought, and I guess that's what he's trying to say, is that just kind of change your perspective on things and see what happens, and be more aware of what it is that you're doing. And if you're trying to get attention all the time, you're doing things just to get attention, are you really doing the good that you think that you're doing? Or are you focused on doing the good and not worrying so much about whether somebody's going to notice it or not? I think it changes the dynamic of what you're doing, Can you guys think of different ways that we can apply that in our lives? Everybody's going,
I can't remember where sometime within the last 3 weeks, okay. It might have been on here. I don't remember. I've either seen or heard, or somebody said they were talking about having a near-death experience. And the first review, the first life, you guys have heard when you die, you have a life review or whatever. So their first life review was everything that they thought mattered, and every decision they made that they thought held weight, every experience that, they thought God would judge or whatever, that was the first life review. And then a second one started. And the second one was what God was actually looking at during your life. And it was a completely different review, because it was that one time that you reached up and got something off the top shelf for that little old lady in the grocery store. Or whereas in the first one, it was all about all the mistakes that you made. The first review, they saw all the things that they thought they would be judged, and all the mistakes, and all the times that they were not as kind as they wanted to be, and all of that. But then the second one was what God actually paid attention to, and it was all of those little things that they did right. And I think that we judge ourselves too harshly. And I'm not a part of a religious thing, but I don't think God judges us. I think we judge us, because the experiences that I've had out of body, there was no feelings of judgment whatsoever. Like, it was just pure unconditional love. And because I don't, I'm not Christian or whatever, I think if there was judgment, I would feel something besides that when I was out there. Not that I've been a horrible person or anything, but
I agree, Catherine. I think that judgment comes from defining things as one way or another. And we've already seen over the hundreds of thousands of years how, one day one thing can be wrong, and then the next day it's not anymore. Why? Because majority has determined, oh, well, maybe that's not really a bad thing. Maybe we just misjudged it, right? Jump out, Chris. I saw you unmute yourself.
Oh yeah, you were saying about judging. Yeah, I think we definitely overjudge ourselves. I think there's, rather than it just being like a Zeus type person with lightning judging people from a throne, I think reality has sort of built in the equal and opposite reaction. I don't know if I'd exactly call it karma, but I think it's something like that, where matter and just the general laws of nature have an inherent reaction, and then humanity has a special interconnectedness to where when we do things, it affects others. I'm not sure that everything we do makes that much of a difference. If you're on a boat in the middle of Canada and you're just fishing for a day and you turn your boat one way or another, I'm not sure how much of a difference that makes in your reality. But I think depending on your intention or what you're trying to do or intend, I think it definitely has some kind of result. And I think there's sort of a repercussion type activity just within the nature of things, without there even being a so-called outside judge. I think it's already built into material existence, if you will.
Yeah, there definitely is a cause and effect, if that's what you're getting at, Chris. There's a cause and effect for even the little things, isn't there? Hey, if you turn the boat a certain way, you might catch another fish or something. You might catch that fish that's in the shallow water now. I like that. I like what Karen was saying earlier about our abundance and how many cells we have in us. And what you were talking about brought up where I've heard before, where in quantum mechanics, things have a tendency at the quantum level to be everything at once until it is judged, until it is quantified or calculated, until it is I don't know, but yeah, until it's quantified, then it can be anything. So I don't know how that falls into play, but once as soon as we decide that something is something, then it is that something apparently. So I mean, we have to, in a way, words are so very important, but in another way, you want to be aware that labels don't mean everything, and that it's that words are just kind of a language of communication, but then they can be so powerful. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if at this point this verse is maybe a joke of Lao Tzu's to, let's give him an obscure riddle to to sort of enlighten them about obscurity and living obscurely. But I think that I remember growing up as a kid. I think I was taught well to live in an obscure fashion, because I was always told to be quiet and sit still and not not make a ruckus, and keep my hands to myself, and I mean, we weren't allowed to use the phone. We weren't. I mean, I sometimes look back and wonder if I was, was I was I really free back then to do anything? I had a great childhood. I was able to go out and be and do and things, but it's but yeah, I mean, definitely being obscure has its advantage. Being sometimes if you're in the background and you can kind of see things going, see how get a bigger picture of things. I mean, that's one way I think that this works. Where you can if you can see how things are going, you can better help the group or the situation. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Welcome, Ali. Feel free to jump out and share your thoughts at any point. Just unmute yourself and say hey. We're talking about Tao Te Ching Verse 36 from the book Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao by Wayne Dyer. We're just sharing our thoughts on that. I was just reading a part in the book that says, what was it? Wayne was talking about monitor your inclinations to compare yourselves to others or stay within the system. A system is designed to get you to behave just like everyone else, as it contrives to make comparisons to determine your success or happiness. And the Tao Te Ching urges you to seek obscurity. Draw little or no attention to yourself and don't ask to be recognized. Instead, allow. Let other people flourish, waxing on about their strength and popularity. Lao Tzu also says you must deliberately grant access to grant others the right to expand, but take your own lesson from the fish that endure and stay in the deep waters of your Tao-directed soul. And in a way that that part about staying obscure, does it kind of does it give you a little rub, like you don't count? You feel that at all? Anybody think that? There's a little bit of I thought that maybe. Go ahead, Karen.
If I could comment on some things that I haven't heard anybody say. I did run off to the bathroom, so I may be repeating what somebody has already said. And just a note to Allie, I find it really confusing that these little mics by us don't work. I mean, as far as unmuting, you actually have to go to the bottom left corner in case you're pounding on your mic and it's not letting you talk. Let's see. Should you want to eliminate something, you must allow it to flourish. In my way of thinking, this is not something you can apply to the obscurity thing. And I know we all have different experiences with eating and our bodies and our belt size, like Chris says. But what I'm thinking about here is if you want to eliminate, say, you know, you're just dying to have chocolate. I love dark chocolate. Sorry if I'm triggering anybody. I'll stop that. But I have literally gone off of chocolate for a year at a time for 3 different times. But I am not willing to treat it as something that's just a terrible thing. I think it's a wonderful thing. And so, you know, I don't stay the rest of my life off of it. And I had some yesterday, and oh my gosh, that was wonderful. So I do think sometimes when you eliminate some things, you're really allowing it to flourish, like addictions, you know. And so it's important to take those things out of obscurity for myself. I just admit, hey, I love that stuff. It's, you know, there's good aspects to it, not in the quantities that I have it, but anyway. And then because, you know, I have a family member who married someone with a sex addiction, and of course she didn't know, and I don't think he even knew at the time. But the saddest thing is, you know, 30 years later, we're learning that her son, who of course is his son, you know, with a wife, a beautiful wife, a wonderful wife, and 5 children, has a sex addiction too. And you know, I know because I'm close enough to this whole situation that was something I'm sure he kept, you know, trying to cover that up, trying to make that not happen, make that not be real, you know, make it be in a dark corner somewhere, make it be in prison, you know, rather than, you know, going out there, marching off to a psychiatrist or psychotherapist or somebody and saying, look, you know, this is in my family and this is what I saw and this is what I was programmed to do and I'm going to need some help with this. And of course, none of us really learn that until, you know, we look back and we go, well, I should have sought help for that before it became a problem. But I think that those 2 lines are helpful. And then should you want to take something away, you must deliberately grant it access. I think because we have these little puppies around all the time, I'm reminded what a poor mother I used to be. I had no idea. I just didn't get the psychology of different things. But, you know, if a puppy wants something, in a lot of cases, it's best to give it to them for a little while. And then you can put it away and they'll literally forget it. But I don't know if that makes any sense. But I think sometimes we do have to do the opposite thing. So now I forgot Samantha's question. I don't know if I've held on to those 4 lines for so long. I just had to kind of say something about them. Thank you.
I think when you were talking about the chocolate, it you know, it made me think. Of course, my thing is ice cream when it comes to sweets. You know, coffee, that's a given, right? But ice cream, that's another thing that just in the past couple of years, which is kind of funny. It was my grandmother's favorite, and then when she passed away, I guess I just took that on for myself. You know, I don't know, but when you mentioned that you had stopped having chocolate for a while, and then when you again had a bite of it, and you were like, oh my God, you know, it makes you realize that, okay, you know, sometimes just stopping for a little while so that when you do take that bite or you do indulge in that, whatever it is that then all of a sudden you get that much more enjoyment out of it. Whereas, you know, if we're constantly having something, or, you know, then you lose, you know, you're not as mindful of it, or you're not as interested in it, right? Or it's not as good. You know, it's just better if you give it a break for a little while. So I thought that was good. Well, thanks for sharing that link, Catherine.
You're welcome. I couldn't remember if I shared it with you last week, Karen. That's to the ozone generator. And if you get one of those, I can tell you how to use it.
Those tomatoes look awesome, Molly.
Yeah, they do. Yummy looking tomatoes, and I don't even like tomatoes, you guys.
Get on a BLT.
Jump out there, Donna. You got something you want to share?
Yeah, I want to have just if I don't mind, allow me to put in this last little final closing remark here. Reading there, that's why I said in the other night, this verse is like, but withdraw yourself and allow others. And someone was saying, well, how do you, earlier, I don't remember which one of you said that, I think it was you, Samantha, asked that question about the obscurity, or I can't remember how you said it. Sorry, but nonetheless, we are oneness, with ourselves and the spirit. And to me, I feel like when we try to really go anything outside of that, like I think it was good Lord, Catherine said earlier, or was it? Oh my God, I can't. Forgive me, guys. I know who you are, but your names are just go. Oh my God, Jason. I think it was Jason said that. Wow. It's like pulling it back into yourself. How the currents. Let me bring it back around this way, because again, we're going back to acknowledging and allowing yourself to be that oneness, because. There's nothing wrong with, my God, you need to be married. We got to have youngins, you got to have, somebody got to multiply. But let's come back around to the oneness of the ocean, of that fish in that water. Lord have mercy. Okay. The obscurity of that wisdom, to me, I got from that in just such a profound way, is that, yes, it seems like he was being comical and joking with us a little bit there, but he was like, all right, calm down now, just calm down, just don't forget, if you try to push it and force it, you're going to have to come back around, and then you're going to have to judge that. You're going to have to judge yourself, like I think it was Catherine said, we judge our own selves, by the words, the thoughts, the everything. So we're just constantly every day having to go out and get that refreshing from the water, from the sun, from nature, and just pull ourselves back in and be one again. Have a good day, everyone. Love you.
We love you too, Donna. I know we're almost at the top of the hour. I just want to, I think words are a fantastic example, because words can have so many different meanings to so many different people. Like for one person, a word means one thing, and for another person, it means something completely different. And I think that, as far as these polar opposite things, it's true. We kind of do have to experience some of the not so pleasant things to really enjoy the pleasant things. I think that we get reminded of that occasionally. I haven't been sick in years, but when I used to get sick, I can remember that after I got through the sickness, it was like I had a whole new life again. Like I felt so much, you know what I mean? It was just like, oh, I feel so much better now, and it makes you appreciate it more. It really makes you appreciate it more. So sometimes just a few little words can change your life, like one little verse that you see somewhere, one little message that comes through the radio as you're driving down the road, or, you see something in it, and somebody else could walk past that thing and never even notice that it was there, and yet you can see something and literally take it as a message from God directly to you, because it's such a special situation. So This is a personal journey, you guys. I mean, we're all on it together, but there's just so much to learn about ourselves and how much we're alike and yet so much different. And I'm just glad to be here with you guys every Saturday so we can figure some of it out together. Thank you.
That's awesome, Catherine. Thanks. That's great. One thing I was noticing about the Tao Te Ching is he's the actual.
Yeah, great discussion, guys. Living the Tao, living the way, finding the way.
I think there might be a delay, Jason. Hey, Chris was
Find
just
your way
talking.
this weekend and enjoy a wonderful weekend, and don't be too obscured. You know, get out there, make your mark on the world, step into your power. You know, whatever you can do. Remember, you do have whatever you're doing. You know, even if it's a little thing, you know, like smiling at somebody, it can have a big effect on them. It might puzzle them and confuse them a little bit at first, but you know, have an effect. Enjoy life. I love you guys. Thanks for being out here.
Thanks, Jason. Jump back out there, Chris.
Oh yeah. Well, we are kind of finishing up now, but I was just saying, these verses come across to me.
I can't hear anybody now, so maybe I need to.
Okay. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It comes across to me as very objective. He does not, even though, you know, Taoism, the way it's described, it comes across very calm, that he was a very calm and meditative type of person. The writing also seems very objective. You know, he talks about everything. He doesn't seem to shy away from anything. Like he ends up with a verse about weapons at the end. You know, that's like a big thing. I was thinking about the Revolutionary War. You know, and basically like you know, America hid in the bushes. That was a big part of the story. You know. And also just the proliferation of weapons, you know, it provokes itself. So, you know, he doesn't shy away from anything. He kind of covers everything. Just a thought, but we're at the end, and thanks a lot for the call, and I appreciate being on here, you guys.
Anybody else have final thoughts before we wrap up for today?
I want to really thank Catherine for the link and all the help. And I also want to mention, you've heard me wrangle over, you know, my computer problems or, you know, things that really get me jacked up. I just want to mention that I don't know where I picked this up in the last week, but I picked up the words, you know, when you start to get panicky about things, and these are the words that I've used since I picked them up, if I could think of them now. This may be an issue, but I don't really feel like it is. I don't think it is right now, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of time so I can kind of, you know, maybe get my vibration lined up with it or whatever. And I've just enjoyed it. There have been a couple of instances where I've used it, and it's just been perfect. And one was I had received a bank card that was supposed to replace a bank card that I had. I knew that I'd taken it off the page. I remember that sticky stuff, cleaning it off the page. And when it came time to get the card and call to activate it, I couldn't find the card. I found the page, and I thought, what did I do? Where did I put it? I went through all kinds of things looking for it, and I thought, you know what? This might be an issue, but I really don't think it is, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of time, and dadgum if it didn't just practically slap me in the nose. So I love you guys, all of you. I love this, I love this, I love this. And it's just a wonderful way to start the weekend. So everybody have a great weekend and a great week next. Thanks.
Your final word, Sandy? Mhm.
I don't know how to put my thoughts into words right now, but when you were talking earlier, Catherine, about the afterlife review, it's funny because I've sort of been thinking about that lately. Like, if I'm thinking something so big and significant in my life, like, is this going to matter in my afterlife? Like, no, so drop it, you know? So I've been using that sort of as a gauge. Like, is this going to matter? No, so let it go. And it reminded me of the book, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. And Billy, I forget if he was alcoholic or drug addict, but he struggled with that for most of his life and had, you know, a lot of problems and issues of creating trouble and stuff. And in his family, a lot of worry around him. But he was speaking to his sister from the afterlife. And basically up there, he's like, they don't care up here that I was drug addict or alcoholic or whatever I did there. You know, it's seen completely different there than how we may see it here and how we may judge ourselves and how we may judge others. So yeah, it just made me think of that, like really releasing those judgments that we have of others when we think something's bad and horrible that they're doing. That's what their soul's probably supposed to be doing right now, and it may seem terrible and horrible, but that's what it is. And in the afterlife, you can look back and be like, it was like this progression of something, or we don't even know. Like, we won't know maybe the answer to any of it till our afterlife. So yeah, it was just interesting things to think about from that perspective. Thank you, everyone. A great discussion, and we got some conversation going around this confusing chapter. So thanks for all your thoughts, and have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Chris, Jason, Catherine, Karen, Donna. Thanks for joining us, Ali. We'd love to hear from you if you want to come back out on another mastermind. We meet every week, every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure what time it is there in Turkey, but whatever time it is right now. Anyway, so guys, thank you for joining us today. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on the Tao Te Ching Verse 36. And I'm glad that we all got some value out of that. Yeah,
Thanks.
that. Oh, yeah. What were you going to say, Chris?
Just thanks. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Samantha.
Awesome. There he is. Okay, well, we're jumping off now. Everybody have a great, awesome, amazing weekend. And for those of you over here in the U.S., happy, what is this, Labor Day? Happy Labor Day weekend. And we'll see you next week on a Saturday morning mastermind. Bye for now.